Hello, I'm Sandra Murray here at the White Mountain Community Garden in the heart of Show Low, Arizona. Summer has left the mountain and fall is here in all her beauty. We still have plenty to do in the community garden. We're saving seeds for next year. We're talking to our scholarship recipient, and we've made a great visit to the U of A Extension office in Holbrook. Please join us as we continue to grow and learn here in the community garden. This year we started a scholarship in honor of Jan Mathis, who's one of our founding members of the White Mountain Community Garden. Jan, she was a great person. She had a passion for gardening and a passion for sharing her knowledge about gardening. Again, she was a lifelong educator, and this way we're honoring her memory and spreading the word that we're here and we want to help people learn about gardening. Yeah. Today we have Jessica with us, with her kids too.
This is Jace and this is Jen Lee.
And Jessica is one of our scholarship recipients this year.
Yeah.
So how did you find out about us here at the garden?
So I am friends with Trina, and she was telling me all about it and telling me the opportunities that we have to learn and become part of a community.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember you and your kids were here very early in the spring.
Yes.
Gardening.
Yeah, that's one of our favorite things. We like to wake up and come out here and spend some time in the dirt, in nature, and bring them back to Earth.
Yeah, that's wonderful. What did you guys like about gardening?
That we get to plant stuff.
You get to plant stuff? What did you plant?
We planted lettuce and garlic.
Oh, excellent.
And we got to do stuff in the kids' garden.
Oh yes, the kids' garden. Yeah, this year it's a brand new thing here at our garden. One of our members, Linda Hoy, created the children's garden. And so it was awesome that you were here to work in that garden.
You guys had so many tomatoes, huh? Remember how big the plants got?
Yeah.
And onions.
And we got to pick green beans.
And lots of green beans, huh?
Jessica, what have you noticed with the kids and gardening? Things they may have learned or what they thought about where food came from?
It was a really funny experience because when we first got here, we planted, I can't remember what we were planting, but they said, okay, we'll come back tomorrow and we'll pick it. So they've definitely learned that it takes time and it takes patience and that you have to maintain it.
Yes. That would be kind of fun though, wouldn't it? Yeah, we have to be patient though.
And I love that it's taught them that hard work pays off.
Oh,
that
that's excellent.
Hauling the dirt and picking the weeds and being patient while it grew and took its time. I like that it's taught them that. And
Yeah,
then
that's
it pays
wonderful.
off.
Yeah, well, we're always learning here. And so that's great to start kids out early, learning about food and gardening. And of course, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. Actually, my 1-year-old will pick the tomatoes right off of the little vines and eat them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he loves little tomatoes now, so that's a plus. And this one will eat onions, and this one, she has a hard time with eating healthy. But I find that when we come here and we pick the produce, then she'll eat them. She's more likely to eat it.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So that's really good.
Yeah, that's certainly true. I think when we get really connected with the food, we're more apt to try things that we might not have tried before.
Definitely.
So, and that goes for us adults too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So what would you tell somebody that might be watching and have an interest in gardening? What would you tell them about coming out here?
Don't be afraid that it's okay not to know anything. It's okay to know, or it's okay to ask, because there are a lot of great people here that will teach you. And if they don't know, they'll say, well, let's go find out. And it's a really good opportunity to grow and to get out of the house and do something with other people in your community. So you're not stuck at home doing the same thing every single day with the kids. You get to get out and grow something. So
that's excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we've certainly enjoyed having you and your family here at the garden this first year.
Yeah.
And well, we'll be back in the spring to start again and maybe grow some of those potatoes. We can turn them into mashed potatoes.
Cool.
Jan was a lifelong educator who had a passion for gardening. She was a founding member of the White Mountain Community Garden and loved sharing her knowledge of gardening with everyone. The White Mountain Community Garden Board and membership endeavor to carry on Jan's legacy by offering scholarships in her memory to encourage others to learn to garden.
Let's join Valerie and her daughter Talia. We'll learn about seed-saving beans and tomatoes, and also a quick and easy way to put chives away for the winter.
Talia, these are chives. They're an herb that is related to onions. See the onions?
Yeah.
It looks just like the onions. You want to try it?
Yeah, I know that
Taste it.
chives are hollow like onions.
Yeah, they look just like onions, and they taste a little bit like onions, don't they?
Yeah.
But if you don't want something super oniony or chunks of big onions, maybe you want to chop up some chives for your soup or for your potatoes, and then you'll have pretty green stuff in your potatoes. Aren't these pretty?
Yeah, it looks good and pretty.
If you want to, yeah. So this is in the fall, and we're just gonna give these a haircut so we can keep them in the freezer in case we want them all winter long.
Yeah, they will taste good in tomato soup.
What we have to do next before we put these away is wash them off. Let's spread them out over here and towel them off. Let's cut it in the middle and then bring it all together. And then it'll go twice as fast, right? Oh, it smells great. Okay, can you make it little? Can you make them this long? Try to make them that long. You're gonna have to go back over it. Okay, so after you chop your chives, you're gonna wanna spread them out on a cookie sheet so that they dry, and, okay, so they dry and so that you can freeze them without them clumping up. You just spread them out, and you put this in the freezer. Once they're frozen, then you can put them in a little plastic bag. And then you'll have chives for all winter long. All your soups will look perfectly garnished. So my 6-year-old is using a really sharp knife, but I start my kids really, really early when they're 2, whenever they show interest in using tools. And I give them a butter knife or something, plastic knives, and they can cut whatever they can cut with it. When everybody's making a salad, when everybody's gathered around doing things, I give them something that they can cut with the butter knife. And so by the time they get a little older, then they've had a lot of experience, and I give them a little bit sharper knives, and then you can hopefully trust them with the knives, and they have a lot of confidence in their abilities and what they can do. I wouldn't suggest everybody just giving their kid a really sharp knife. They have to have a lot of experience doing it.
Hi, this is Linda Hoy at the White Mountain Community Garden, and we just want to extend a warm invitation to all of you to come and join us here on 9th Place and learn so much about gardening. It's easy to join, and we invite you to come and dig with us in the dirt and have a lot of fun and eat some wonderful, wonderful produce. Thank you.
Hello, today I am Steve Gauker, part of the Navajo County Cooperative Extension Program. And what we have today and how the Cooperative Extension Program evolved, or where it started, was in 1914. The federal government started a program where the universities would bring the university to the people rather than the people going to the university. So that's why you see U of A Cooperative Extension in small communities and everywhere but Tucson.
A lot of people think of Extension as 4-H, but Extension also extends beyond 4-H into Family and Consumer Health Sciences. My name is Margene Bodden, and I work within the Family and Consumer Health Sciences side of Extension for both Apache and Navajo County. One of the programs that we have is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is SNAP. Within that is an education component. Most people know of SNAP as food stamps, but it extends beyond that to include education, community training, and additional assistance for all ages. We work with Head Start all the way up to our senior centers. One of our biggest focus areas for both Apache and Navajo County was to increase the access to fresh fruits and vegetables through gardening efforts. We've done gardens at schools, we've done home-based programming, community-based programming, including our extension garden that you see behind us here. Our goal with this is to provide both educational opportunities to our local schools, our local communities, and some of our outreach programs.
Just want to explain a couple of the different beds that we have in the background. This here is a cinder block bed that we have started, and it's painted on the sides, as you can see. This was part of what Katie had the kids when they came over and planted this. This whole bed was planted by school-age children, kindergarten through 2nd grade. And this bed here, when we started it, we wanted to have, this is a lasagna bed in here. So there's some dirt, some compost, and some cardboard, and actually court documents, shredded court documents is what's in the bottom of that. And so when we started this, we wanted to have this education garden, we wanted to have different beds to do different things.
The goal of our garden is to increase access to fresh fruits and vegetables, but the thing is that a lot of our communities, we service the entire Navajo County region. So depending on where our participants are located, whether that's in Greasewood or Pine Top or even down in White River, they have different needs in terms of soil, in terms of climate. So we are using this garden to provide an experimental type learning situation. So we are doing different types of activities as far as the garden beds themselves, whether that's a lasagna bed or whether that's this type of bed that you see behind us that I'll let Steve talk about a little bit more.
And with this bed, we wanted to see if someone did not have the ability to have a greenhouse or a hoop house. So what we did is we added 2 foot of Lexon right here, as you can see, and it can be added or taken off at any time. And what that does is it serves a couple things. It keeps the wind off when your plants are first started. The other thing that does is it's going to produce a little bit more heat in there to give those plants a head start when you transplant or first put those seeds in the ground.
So one of the things that we found, because we're actually at the start of year 3 of a 3-year program, is that a garden, a lot of individuals, whether that's a community, a school, or even a home gardener, has a lot of interest right at the very beginning about doing gardening. They have a lot of desire, but then a garden is a lot of work. And as Steve has mentioned a couple of times, depending on what you want to do with your garden, it can also be very expensive. So we are doing different things here at our garden to help educate, whether that's a student or a home gardener, about different things that they can do to stretch their gardening budget. Whether that's a lasagna bed, like the first bed that we referenced, the lexicon bed, either the second one with the 2 foot height or this one here with the 1 foot. So that way they can make it work for themselves and for their family. Also, depending on your location, we're here in Holbrook, so we have a lot of wind. We have to have some additional ideas about how to make sure that our garden is successful because of the wind and, in our particular case, our poor soil health. So we do different things to encourage our participants to be well-rounded gardeners and to think about all aspects of their garden, because it's not just a simple, I'm going to plant tomatoes and have 20 pounds of tomatoes every year. So it's a longer term process, and we work with them from the very beginning all the way to the very end.
We install, we're inside the hoop house here today, and what these are, this hoop house is approximately, give or take, right around $400 to assemble with all the material, including the bed material, the ribbing on the material, this ridge line which we've added to experiment with. It helped. We did it at the Blue Ridge School Garden for snow load. We've also did it here, and it tremendously helps with the wind. Just this little bitty 2x6 up here just keeps it from moving in the wind as much. But what a hoop house does is it gives you a head start on the gardens, and this so when it's extremely cold out, and this hoop house, we can raise and lower the sides on it to control the temperature. The bigger the greenhouse or bigger the hoop house, the easier it is to control the temperature and keep your spikes, your highs and lows out. And one of the things that we did with the hoop house is we wanted to have a hoop house and have to show people that they can actually have tomatoes for an extended season. It's one of the calls that we get a lot of. How do I make, what's wrong? I can't get my tomatoes to grow. I can't get them to ripen. I can't get them to produce enough. Tomatoes are kind of a finicky plant. They require a certain amount of cold and then a certain amount of hot to make them work. And what happens in this hoop house, we just did this as an experiment with, I think there's like 10 different varieties of tomatoes in here, just to see how some did and some didn't. So again, you can see in the background, it's kind of a jungle. And we're gonna see how long we can actually keep these tomatoes going this year as part of our land grant experimentation with the U of A. And the good part about it is that we can experiment and figure it out to when people come in and ask questions, we can actually show them the evidence and show them the experimentation and show them how things have worked.
And this garden is truly an example of the teamwork that we do within Cooperative Extension. Every single SNAP person, as well as some additional extension staff, have been involved in this garden. We have our administrative assistant, for example. She actually got the tomatoes started for us, but then Steve, as well as Katie and another staff member, actually did the building here of the hoop house. So we truly do work together, just because we know that, again, as I mentioned before, buy-in and having a successful garden is a true long-term commitment and a long-term effort.
And one other thing to add, Margene, is the small communities, we rely on each other to bring things together, where if you're in one of the big cities, everybody has their own separate department. Where here, we truly all work together, and it's actually a really enjoyable place to work.
If you've never wanted to pay too much for seeds, you can save any heirloom tomato seeds. We're going to cut these rustic red tomatoes that we grew at the Show Low Community Garden in the High Tunnel, and we're gonna get the seeds out and learn how to save them for next year's garden. So you have to cut the tomato in a certain way. So you wanna cut it so that you have a top half and a bottom half. Then you're gonna try to get all these seeds. You gotta squeeze it and try to get all these seeds. Then you take these and you put a little bit of water in it, and after 3 or 4 days you will get mold on top. Then you strain it with a sieve, run water through it, and then you can get all that jelly stuff away, and then you will have seeds. And then you put it on a paper towel or something. You want to spread it out a little bit to dry it out. You want to label it again. You'll have these seeds for next year's garden.
Hello, my name is Minnie Olson and I'm with the University of Arizona Cooperative Extension. And today I'm going to show you a pasta salad. It's a very healthy salad and it's very fast and easy. With this pasta salad, I've already pre-cooked some and drained it, and I have it in a bowl right here. And I am using the vegetable noodles with this one. You can also use the whole wheat. This is 100% whole wheat, but for today's I'm using the vegetable. Some of these vegetables we've gotten out of our garden here at the Extension Center. We have the tomatoes that I'm using from here, different squashes. We have bell peppers that are growing as well as onions. With this pasta salad, I have a recipe that I follow, and it's AZNN approved, so we follow this. And it gives you other suggestions where you can become more creative with the salad. I'm going to be adding a half of a cup of frozen peas, and then I'm going to be adding a cup of tomatoes, and a cup of tomatoes is about a medium-sized tomato. With this, I'm also going to add a cup of cucumbers, and I've already diced these. I'm using a half of a bell pepper that I diced. I'm also going to be adding to this one red onion. I've used half of an onion. You can use more if you want. And with this one, we add also, what I'm going to add is what we have in our garden. A lot of people misunderstand that with squash that you have to cook it. And actually squash can be eaten raw, and that's what these are. These are the yellow squash that we have. They're very tender, they're really delicious, and again, just slicing them up, putting them in a salad. I'm also going to use a 1/4 cup of Italian dressing, and the purpose of using these is so that we can save money with the things that you grow. At this point, I'm just giving it a gentle toss. And that's just kind of to incorporate the Italian dressing that's in there. And it also blends really nice. I love when I make this because of all the colors. With the colored pasta and the tomatoes. I love the colors that it gives off. It's a very nice look. And with the pasta salad, you don't have to use it just as that side dish. You can also make it as a main dish. You know, you might want to add some leftover cooked chicken that you have, or some tuna that you have. Makes an excellent lunch. So again, using a variety of different ways that you can stretch your dollar.
We're here to open the high tunnel. It gets closed every evening. Right now when the temperature may go below freezing, and it's always like 5 degrees cooler right in this area than the rest of Show Low. So we're closing it most every night because it's going to freeze. So here we are in the morning. We want to get here before 10 o'clock because the temperature is going to get so high inside if everything's closed up. So we're going to have 2 of us to open today because we need someone who's going to guide up this 24-foot metal pole here that is attached to our end. So the first thing we have to do is take out these metal spikes that we put in last night to keep this pole from jumping up and down. So we took those out. Then we're going to untie the guideline here that is keeping this from going in, billowing out, doing all kinds of things. Okay, so now we have this straight, and we're going to just roll it up. Okay, Vicky's in the middle. which makes it a little easier for one female person. Now we usually have 2 people to close this. So Vicky's gonna get in here and she's gonna sort of be guiding it down so that there's a long metal pole in here so that it doesn't move and it goes down straight. So, all we have to do is get this off. Okay, and then we're going to straighten this mechanism out, and it's unlocked now, and it's going to go down, down, down. Okay, so you see how the wind is already pushing this in? That's why we have to use these strings and tie this down. I have hooks all over here, but a very important thing we need to do is keep this 24-foot metal bar from moving.
Well, we've closed the high tunnel for the season. Please join us next time as we have plenty of activities continuing here at the garden.